Okay, so I wanted to go ahead and add, in the process, while I'm setting up SQL Server on this thing, I also want to go ahead and add um, another switch and another NIC. So I can make this thing happy by giving it a static address. If you're going to add a new switch, you're going to have to do that at the global level, not to the device in question. You can add a new NIC to a VM after you've added the switch to the entire environment. So you're going to go here to your virtual switch manager. Unlike VMware Workstation, this does not require administrative control. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a new internal switch. Create virtual switch. Um, I'm going to call it internal domain switch. Notice I am not tying it to my external network at all. It's an internal network, so it will talk to, it'll be essentially in host-only mode. And I'm not going to worry about a VLAN or anything. I'm going to apply it. So now, so this will allow my DC to have the static address it wants and also access the global net for the purposes of Windows updates and things like that. So now that I've done that, I can edit the settings of the specific machine. I can add new hardware. I can add a new network adapter, and I can connect it to the domain internal switch. And click apply. Okay. So now going back to my virtual switch manager, my default switch. Okay, my internal switch. Now I'm gonna have to do because notice there's nothing in here about DHCP or anything. So it's a new adapter on the machine, which has no way of obtaining an IP address. So I'm obviously going to have to give it one. Now, actually, let's go look at the device mangler right quick. Actually, you know what? Control panel. It'll be faster. I prefer to flip these things into, actually, I'm going to put this in the large icon mode for y'all. I prefer to put these things in small icon mode so I can see everything. That's just my personal preference. But let me do it in large icon mode. I'm going to go to my device mangler. And now I may have to reboot this thing. Network adapters. Okay, and okay, good. It sees two of them. This is the one I just added. Properties. Advanced. Okay, so I literally added it, so it went in immediately. So I'll have to deal with that in a bit. But for the moment, what I want to do is install SQL Server. I've actually moved this here. So what I'm going to do now, I've got this ISO image of SQL Server. What I'm going to do is mount it as though it were a disk. It's one of the fun things you can do with these sort of things. So I've also got 7-zip and my ADK and Firefox, just in case I need to do some other things. So I'm going to mount this slipstream image and essentially I've invented, let's go here. So eventually I've essentially created an F drive out of a DVD drive out of thin air by mounting this ISO image. And now I can follow the instructions. So yeah. Now if you didn't do what I did earlier, which was to install the .NET Framework 3.5 feature in the process of installing something else, whether Hyper-V or Active Directory, you'll need to do that now. So there's and okay, so okay, so Now, so we've got, okay, so double-click the setup file. There. And this will install my Active Directory, sorry, not Active Directory, the SQL Server. And I'm going to go ahead and pause this for just a minute, because it's probably going to have to think for a minute. Okay, so there's quite a lot of information here. This is our install center. You can look at documentation, how to get some tools, your system configuration checker. What we're going to do now is go to installation. So we don't need something like the Upgrade Advisor because there isn't a SQL Server 2012 or whatnot. So you know what? I'm going to scan this right quick, just for giggles. Your next step, starting at about activity 6.3, step 17, is to click installation. Let me see if it's actually doing that. One of the other things I spun up here, I wanted to look at what else this thing is doing. So I spun up, oh, interesting, two of them. Okay, there. Okay, that's what's doing. Okay, so it's checking my global rules. Okay. Okay. So there are some warnings, but okay, let's see about this warning. Okay, so it says this is not a good idea, but we've been told to do it, so we'll keep going. Cannot access the internet. Yeah, that's kind of a problem. My ISP is not behaving itself, but okay. But we'll try this. If this doesn't work, I can always try this again later once my ISP is done doing whatever it's doing. So, okay. And installation. Okay, and we're going to choose, as soon as it's ready to let us make that selection, you're going to choose this new standalone installation or add features. So that one. Okay, so I'm going to pause this again. See, so, sorry, the next thing we're going to do is specify a free edition, then accept the license term. Now, it may already, in the global rules window, it might actually do the sanity check we just did ourselves again. If there are any issues, fix them, then go on. So I'm going to wait here. So, as noted, specify the free edition, click next. So you're going to want run through a lot of steps. This is going to be a long and complicated process. So accept the license terms. I'm not going to bother with the customer experience improvement program. Next. So it's going to do the rules. Check for updates. You know what? I'm not going to tell it to check for updates right now because I know that I have no internet access. I could always do that later. Okay. Next. Oh, and it's done another rule check. I get the domain controller warning again, the application security warning again, the firewall warning. Okay. Okay, so we're going to have to we may have to open supports later, but for the moment, we want to leave the firewall on. as much as this system is doing, at the most you should do is tailor your firewall rules. Turning the firewall off, unless you have a very clear sense of what you're doing and why, is not a good idea. So click Next, and I'm going to choose Feature Installation. Click Next. Then let's see, in Feature Selection, click Database Engine Services, and under Shared Features, choose, let's see, Management Tools Complete. Management Tools Complete. Notice that Complete is a subcategory of Basic, essentially. That actually makes a fair amount of sense. It noticed something useful. It has already found. It already knows about PowerShell 2.0. There's also PowerShell 3.0 now. Then both a couple flavors of the .NET framework, and it's going to install Visual Studio, Shell, and redistributables. It notices how much space I need. All that is a good thing. Move this here, shrink this. Let's see, so database and management tools. And then click Next. It is going to think about its feature rules, I think, then move us on to instance configuration. I'm going to pause again. Okay, it's doing another rule check. Okay, we're going to use the default instance. We're not going to change anything. We're not going to change the instance ID. Click. And in server configuration, we're going to make some changes. In the account name column, click Browse. SQL database engine. Browse. Choose Browse. To computer service. You see, service account group window. Click Advanced. And find now. Click System under search results. So System. Okay. Click OK. Okay. Next. Okay. Now, what that did, the real root user on a Windows NT platform is not the administrator account. The true root user account on these things is System. So by including System, we give this thing the control that it needs. We're going to leave, okay, going to click Add Current User button. Add the current user. Okay, so that's me, administrator, local and domain admin. And then I'm going to click Next, and then Install. And I'm going to pause, because it's going to think for a while. Okay, so it worked. I've got success, success, success. Yay, so I can hit Close. And close this. I've also got various tools and management options, resources, books. It's kind of a general purpose. Well, if you really actually, the best way to do some of this, honestly, really, if you to really learn SQL, probably you need a book. Books online may not, unless books are online are kind of your thing, I would not suggest doing it this way. Anyway, so we're done here. And the next thing will be installing the ADK, which will be another video. So thanks for watching. And now, now that you've done things like this, now will be a good time to set a checkpoint. But of course, remember, once you set the checkpoint, you kind of start spawning things you may not be able to make a new child process, a new child system from this with, say, a differencing disk until you